What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Burnout Brighter podcast. My name's Matt. I'll be your host for this evening's events. This is episode 94. I'm joined, as always, by my wonderful co-host, Destiny.
Hey.
And today, we have a very, very special guest, the Onsen Master himself, coming to us to talk to all about his games, the E3, and everything that's going on. One of the kindest people and one of the Wholesome Direct members, Mr. WakingOni, Derrick Fields. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
I'm so stoked we got to have you on. It was actually during the Black Voices in Gaming event. We were watching and kind of doing a post show to that. And as soon as you came on, there was something about you that we were both like, we need to talk to him ASAP. Because you spoke so eloquently and your story is so interesting. So I'm so happy we got to dig into that today.
Yeah.
But before we get too far, can you tell people a little bit about yourself? Where can they find you? Where can they kind of follow up on your work? Who are you?
Yeah, absolutely. So WakingOni is of course the name that's often seen on social media. But my name is Derrick Fields. I am an artist. I have an art background in illustration and pursued video games because I wanted to see myself represented. I do a lot of work in Chicago, and my family and I, we are a part of different communities here, one of which is the Japanese Arts Foundation. And so I'm a board member of the Japanese Arts Foundation in the Video Game Art Gallery here, doing work that all centers on teaching back and kind of giving resources to would-be creators, people who are interested in creating games, creating art, creating manga, all those types of things are usually orbiting the type of work that I do.
Oh, that is so cool.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
dope.
you.
Wow.
It's fun. I really, having a family of my own has definitely, I would say, thrown so much fuel to the fire for wanting to, watch other kids grow up in an environment that they can have, access to the same sort of creative tools.
Yeah, I think that's so amazing, especially because we talk a lot about representation on the show, and Destiny as an artist herself, again, is just like, it's, you guys, the work that you're doing is so important. It's so cool. So again, thank you for joining us. We're so excited to have you here. But
thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about Onsen Master before we get a little bit further?
I can. Onsen Master, if I were to try to, I'll have to say the elevator pitch because I can't get through any of descriptions without getting it out of my mouth first. It's a bathhouse strategy game about healing. You play as a character who has been tasked with managing a bathhouse across different locations on this fantasy island. And so the story that takes place is involving you as well as a companion friend yokai, which is the Japanese word for spirit, essentially. You befriend this individual and together you're traveling to a story, and it's really about the connection that you make with other people as well as just emotional healing and those topics most of all.
It just looks so much fun. It looks like so much fun. All right, well, let's get into it. We are going to start this episode, as we always do, with a round of random questions. And as always, we like to throw our guests completely under the bus by not preparing them. But I will ask Derrick a question first, and then he will go ahead and ask us a couple questions back. So if I wanted to ask you something that I had not prepared for, but I think it would be fun to hear your answer as I preamble here long enough to give myself time to think.
I'm ready for this bus.
Usually we have our other co-host Darren on, and he usually jumps in at this point and kind of helps me make up time. Destiny's just letting myself sink here.
Yes. You have to raise your hands up like in like channel, just Dragon Ball Z style.
Spirit bomb, yeah. Please send me your energy. Destiny's like, no, you can do it by yourself. What is your favorite yokai and why?
That's tough. There's like 3 of them that I really like. Oh crap. Okay,
tell me a little bit about all of them then.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so there's one that's called a Chochin Obake, and it is essentially this red lantern. Some of those lanterns you see in Japan usually have text on them like ramen or some sort of food, usually denoting like a shop or some sort of eat that you can attend to. And so that yokai is like a personification of that, and it has a single eye and it loves licking people. There's a companion that it is often seen with, which is also a favorite of mine, called the Kasa Obake. So Chochin I believe essentially means lantern, kasa meaning umbrella, obake just meaning
Oh.
monster in a roundabout way. But the kasa obake is this one-legged umbrella, one-eyed, one-legged umbrella hopping monster that you'll kind of see paired with the Chochin. And it also likes licking people too. I don't know. It's just like a thing that they both do together. And I think is there one more? There's so many favorites. There was a short period in time where they did like a very short, not I can't call it short term. Each piece was short term, but it was a very long term project drawing 100 different yokai. And so I put them all in one big piece, and so I became very intimately aware of some of the different ones that were involved in the picture. But last is the Gasha Dokoro. Gasha Dokoro is kind of an onomatopoeia. It is the sound that the yokai is making because it's this large gargantuan embodiment of tons and tons of skeletons to make one large skeleton. And this is often seen in the Ghibli film Pompoko has an interpretation of it, and there's a famous ukiyo-e print called I can't remember the warrior's name, but it's like something in the Witch Spectre, and you'll see a large Gasha Dokoro in the background, and it's a very famous ukiyo-e art print.
Oh my god, all three of those sound so cool. I'm surprised that like we haven't seen any Pokemon variations of almost any of those by now.
Yeah, there are some Pokemon variations of other yokai for sure, but maybe not those. Maybe they tooled about. Maybe there's one that was considered, and maybe they thought it was too scary or something. But there's Yokai Watch. We do have that.
That is very true. That's right. It would be pretty fun to be able to catch a red lantern that just likes to lick other people. That's 100% a ghost Pokemon in the making.
Oh my gosh.
Nintendo, call
exactly.
him.
Yeah, they would be friends with Haunter right away.
Perfect. Exactly. Destiny's like, I don't like Pokemon. Why do you guys do that?
Yeah, it's not that I don't like Pokemon. I just don't see the point in playing a game where you continuously catch other animals. Like, it's boring to me.
It's valid. It's valid. I make the same criticisms about Monster Hunter, and my relationship with Monster Hunter has become very divided because now, as an adult, I can't slay these majestic beasts for the purposes of just wanting to wear their skin. It's diabolical.
Something about that doesn't click anymore. You're like, I understand, and it's fun, but why?
Somebody ripped the veil away, and I was like, I can't go back.
All right, let's throw it over to you now. So it's now your turn to ask myself and Destiny two different questions. So I'll put the ball in your court now. Do you want to start with myself or Destiny, and what would you like to ask? And remember, anything goes.
Okay. Okay, Destiny. Mm-hmm. If there were a pair, do you like sneakers?
Yeah.
If there were a pair of sneakers that you could collaborate with any theme in media, what would it be?
Okay, so I just bought some with The Simpsons.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they were really dope. And I think maybe a few years ago, Vans did a collaboration with Nintendo. And I kind of wish they would bring it back because they sold out really quickly in Korea. But I think if I did one, I would want to do one on, and this is not a video game, I'm sorry, but like I'm an 80s child, so I want to see Jim and the Holograms, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and like Transformers on sneakers. Yes. Like that's what I want.
Those are great answers. Also 80s born, those things are very near and dear.
Yeah.
Transformers took me down the pipeline of wanting to watch Beast Wars and all of those things.
Oh my god, I remember Beast Wars.
Those are good ones. Matt, I'm let me think here. I had one I was like, maybe that's too easy. That feels like in the span of potentially 94 episodes, it may have already been asked before. So I'm not going to do that.
I believe in you.
Yeah.
As you think, see, Destiny, there's Final Fantasy characters in the background too. You're all about Final Fantasy.
Heck yeah, Final Fantasy.
Yeah, but...
In Derrick's background.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just trying to buy time here.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay, Matt, if there was any game that you think could be rescored by George Zimmerman, the composer for Inception and all those other very heavy-hitting movies. What was the last one? Tenet. His first name's George, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
What game would it be?
Oh, man, that's a great question.
Wait, is it George?
I think that's right.
I'm going to look it up.
Okay, look it up.
Because now I'm thinking of the other guy.
Oh,
George
wait.
Lucas?
No.
I think it is Zimmerman. I think you're right.
Is it George or is it Hans?
Hans Hans.
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 Oh, wait. Let's please backtrack.
Yeah.
Let's backtrack.
Okay.
Hold on.
Let's rewind
George-
time
yeah.
on that one because.
Yeah. Oh my
because
God.
I was like,
Oh my
wait
goodness.
a minute, no.
No.
I am sorry to anybody who had to hear that name. That is a terrible person.
Yeah.
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 Hans Zimmerman. Hans Zimmerman.
Zimmerman. Okay.
I'll say it one more time. Hans Zimmerman. Yes.
I would love to pair Hans Zimmerman up with Kojima on whatever Kojima's doing next, because I feel like Metal Gear and Death Stranding have such like massive cinematic qualities to them that I feel like, and especially that vibe of kind of weird, kind of dark, kind of messed up, but like very intense. I feel like Kojima and Zimmerman, Hans Zimmerman, would make a fantastic pair, and I would love to see them kind of start from the ground up together and not kind of rescore something, but make a new score for the next big Kojima game.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really cool, match for them. I think it would work. I think it would be really interesting.
I
Pretty
think
intense.
I'd want them to rescore Death Stranding, because there's just like that one prominent song that he used. Like, it's a good song, but he uses it throughout the whole thing. And I think that would be cool to have Hans come in there and like change it up a bit.
Oh yeah, that'd be great to see their version of that motif. I think would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think it would be really, really interesting to have them mixed together. Just Kojima's just so interesting in his game development, and I'd love to see them kind of go down that weird path together. I think it'd be pretty interesting. But thank you so much. Those were two awesome questions.
Yeah.
I was gonna say those were two.
That was really good.
Yeah, legit. We've had some questions before that it's just like.
And
they're
keeps
usually
going back to Darren's question about cleaning shoes. Matt has been like.
To be fair,
sorry,
that was on like
episode
episode 4. No, it's okay. You rocked it.
No, you did a really good job.
All right, let's keep this train rolling on to games that matter. So for anybody who's listening for the first time, our podcast always likes to come back to mental health if and when that we can. And whenever we have a new guest on, we like to ask about a game that matters to them, a game that helped them get through a crappy patch in life, or a game that they think is important and deserves to be talked about. So Derrick, if I can ask, what is a game that matters to you?
In a lot of ways, I think Journey matters to me a lot. So my family is raised very spiritual, and always having sort of this sort of agnostic or universal connection with wanting to learn about a multitude of religions and celebrating and reading about them. And Journey does a really amazing job capturing that essence, the essence of, I think, what brings a lot of people towards their faith. And it talks about, that this journey, almost the story of the hero in some ways as well, but how you had to proceed through that game and reaching its ending, where the players are essentially going on this kind of spiritual journey, but inevitably passing, and doing that in a way where you had to have like this kind of limited communication. So it forces the player to, I don't know, it kind of really, really put in place a lot of their own interpretations for the experiences that they're having with themselves, and the experiences or possible connections that they're having with other people, since you only get the utility of making that one little glyph sound to convey to other people that maybe this is the right way to go, or that there's something interesting here. So yeah, that game means a lot to me. I've played it over and over. I've even shared it with my family, some of which are not game players, but my grandma especially, who I hold a lot of these conversations with, really enjoyed it, to the point where she was for years trying to hunt down ways to play it without having to. She told me, I don't want to buy a PlayStation 3, when it initially came out, but I need to play that game again. Is there a way that I can do that? And so it really resonated with her as well, and I hope others have had an opportunity to play it.
I think Journey is a phenomenal game, and I think something that it does so uniquely is the multiplayer is there if you want it, and like there's no real way to troll or to mess with other players. It's either you kind of pass each other by, or someone stops to help you, and it's such like a uniquely beautiful experience. So a question then, so I've never gone back to Journey. I kind of played it once and I was like, this is my experience with it. Have you gone back to it multiple times, and do you find like the adventure kind of changing depending on when you play it, or is it one of those situations where, again, you played it and kind of left it there?
It was when it initially released, played it tons of times. When it was then ported, I believe it found its way onto PlayStation 4.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember that transition, but I might have just played it on PlayStation 3 again. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, there was a point where a lot of the playthrough definitely orbited its initial release, and then upon any news that it had sought, a re-release on any other platform, it was initiative to go back and visit with it again and see. What that experience might be like, or maybe sharing that with other people. I've since shared that game with my stepson, and it was really cool to watch some of the awe-striking, very like cinematic moments happen and watch their interpretation of that. At this time, he was like 6 years old. He's 13 now, and so it was cool. The same awe-striking moments resonated with him, and it even though it wasn't the first time seeing it, and I fully by this point expected certain sequences to occur. It was still fun. It was still fun to watch and feel the soundtrack and feel the kind of magic work its way through again.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
The game is very special. Thank
it's
you
my
so much.
background on my PS3 still.
Yes.
Yeah, it's still my background.
Yeah, I believe maybe I didn't. The concept art for that game is just so good. I was trying to think if I ended up buying the art book for that one, but just watching their design process and deciding what the little character that you're going to be interacting as is really fun journey as well.
I think the same company made Sky.
Yes. So
have
just
you,
recently.
Yeah, have you tried
Yeah.
that one out?
I've not tried it out yet.
Oh, okay. It's really pretty.
Yeah,
It's
I've
like
tried
nice.
Flower and Journey, and then I haven't tried anything else since then. So I do have to get back and visit with that game company.
Yeah, which is actually the name of the company. Every time it throws me off for a second, I'm like, wait, hold on. No, that's actually the name.
It's like referencing From Software. You can't do it in a way that's...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for telling us about your story with Journey, and because that game is just absolutely wonderful. It's so special. Let's keep it going. So, Destiny, I'm going to throw to you first. What's new?
Okay.
What's been going on?
Just relaxing after E3. I know I've been playing a bit of Chicory and Dark Deity.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been watching the rest of Downtown Abbey, but I needed a break. Because they won't fire this one character. It irritates me. He's doing a really good job at being a despicable, like, dickhead, but now I don't want him on the show anymore. That's not my choice.
Fair.
And that's just about it. Like, and basically building up my portfolio because I really want to try to get into narrative design for games. So I've been talking to people in the industry who already kind of do that, and they've suggested a program called Twine where you kind of make narrative games. I'm terrible at scripting, so I've been watching YouTube videos. It's not that hard, I guess, because they walk you through it, but doing that and coming up with a story that I think would be most interesting to put in game form for my portfolios. That's what I'm doing right now.
That's so dope.
That's amazing. I narrative design is one of those things that I love. The individuals who pursue designing narrative, it's not my strongest avenue, and I really rely on the strengths of others to be able to pull that through. I can't wait to see or hear what you bring out of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Is Downton Abbey still driving you nuts? Are you still running out to Jackie and being like, this fucking character?
Like a little bit, but like they've like killed off people, so then I have to like pause it and I have to go and see like why that person left the show. And most of the time they're just like, yeah, didn't want to re-sign my contract, so they just like killed them off.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what they do. Like they just kill people off, or they just have them like leave the show quietly and you never know what happens to them.
Is this like a high profile like teledrama kind of thing? Like I've never watched it, but that's what it sounds like. Because whenever I think of like those like The Young and the Restless and stuff, my mom always used to watch them, and every like she'd tell me about it sometimes, being like, this character died, and this character died, and this character died, and this character had a baby with this person. Turns out it's their sister, and it's this whole thing.
It's not like that. I think soap operas can get really silly. It's a period drama based in Britain. So like how they film their shows is a little different. It like all focuses around like the caste system and the workers below versus the people who live above. And it's just kind of ridiculous because like as you're watching it, you know that that's what it was like, you know? And like they also drop in a little bit of stuff about like racism and things like that, which is interesting because people like to believe that like racism is only super huge in the US. And I'm like, no, it's big in other places too.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I think it's a really good show for a drama, for a period drama. I think it's really good. It's not silly. Like I think they're on the 6th season, but I think they've stopped it now. But they're about to go into, it's 1924. So they mentioned something. I didn't even think about this. Like before World War II happened, like when Hitler was going around, like he was just known as like a gang, and they were called brown shirts, like the people who followed him.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't like a huge thing then. He was just kind of like this mobster kind of thing who was going around like just killing people who didn't believe in his ideas. And the
Jesus.
thing that's really interesting is that when they're talking about it in England, they're not making a big deal about it. They're just like, oh yeah, no, we've heard of Hitler. Yeah, he's causing some trouble in Germany. Not a big deal. Because not too many years before that, Germany had just started another war, World War One.
Mhm.
So it was just really interesting to like look at their mindsets at that time and to see like, man, they had no idea Hitler was about to just fuck shit up like
Wow.
worldwide.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so it all starts somewhere. And I just thought that was really interesting how it like started out with like, oh yeah, some guy named Hitler and his thugs who are like in a gang and they're just called the brown shirts. And then, just a few years later, they're basically killing millions of people.
Jesus. I didn't know that Downton got into that kind of stuff. Well, I'm glad you're still enjoying it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I gave it a break though, but it's pretty good.
Derrick, what about you? What's been going on? I don't think you've been too busy. It's not like there's been a lot going on the last couple of weeks. How was E3? How was Wholesome? What's new? What's been going on?
Can I just say before you start, Wholesome was amazing.
Yes,
I was
incredible.
Like, oh my God.
Thank you.
Like, I just loved everything about it. I think I tried to wish list like 90% of the games. I have never seen a collective like that before. And I'm sure this isn't how it was meant, but I felt like those games were meant for like girl gamers. Like I felt like all the colors and just everything and like the idea, I was like, this is my shit.
Yeah.
I was excited.
So, I have to give immense shout outs to the Wholesome Games organizers. Any opportunity to be able to participate, contribute to, be involved with Wholesome Games is an amazing privilege. Their community is lovely. My introduction to them started with Twitter and joining their Discord and mingling with other developers who are in the interest of creating games that isn't contingent on centering its gameplay on like violence and there's many other reasons to create interactive experiences that don't have to be explosions and etc. Making a very broad generalization of that, but watching the growth in the people who have joined this space and the representation within this space, and then the support that has been built from that has contributed to such monumental momentum for the presence that they have on social media and being able to create these wholesome directs and being able to support the other developers who just want to make these types of experiences. So yes, being on screen with Jenny, with Victoria was astounding. I was it felt like a small person among industry giants getting to talk with them, and so shout outs to them. And then Guerrilla Collective and E3, and I was a part of a conversation with GameSpot and Timur out of there to talk about games. It was wild. It was such a roller coaster of just news and conversations and also keeping up with game announcements. So
trying to be a fan inside all that.
yeah, a little bit. It was like, I have my game, but also, did you see Redfall?
Oh my God, yes, Redfall. So I won't go on.
They have so much excitement. But as far as things that I've been up to, really, it has been a lot about spending time with my family wherever possible. It has been really focusing on the sort of last mile of tasks that are relating to Onsen Master and making sure that we get that out the door in a timely manner. It is connecting with other folks as we're trying to brainstorm and tool about on what the project is that follows Onsen Master. So many other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a very busy time, and it is still a busy time. But it's things are slowly settling, and other things are on the horizon too.
Nice. I'm
And
so excited for you.
Oh my
Thank
God, me
you.
too. How did it feel like finally showing off Onsen Master in that capacity, right? Being able to see Justin, on there playing it. And we were cackling the entire time through your segment because we're like, man, I thought they were good at this game. Like the game looks like so much fun, but they're like struggling a little bit here. But like the game looks
Yeah.
fantastic. How did it feel to finally, show it to that capacity?
Oh, it's exciting. There's never like a moment where that becomes desensitized, and it's just like run of the mill or anything like that. Never. Watching other people play and spectate and struggle is really really great for me, because there's parts of the game that have become as we've worked on it and tooled about with some of the mechanics, routine. And so for me, working through that first stage, I can fly through it. And so getting an opportunity to see other people play the game always gives me the reassurance that it's still a little bit difficult, which is intended. And so I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy people having the aha moment and the watching them develop their pace with interacting with customers and mixing ingredients and things of that nature. And so talking with Justin and the rest of the folks at the Guerrilla Collective was really exciting. I'm glad anybody who looks at it on Twitch, some of the feedback usually comes in. I love the style. It reminds me of Spirited Away. I love the artwork and all of these things. And so it's very validating, and I'm always appreciative.
Yeah, it was funny. Destiny literally said, like, as we were watching, as they started to ask you about inspirations, she's like, this looks like Spirited Away. And then I think the next question, you were like, yeah, one of my biggest inspirations is Spirited Away. Destiny's like, I told you!
Yeah. Yep. I make no hesitation at mentioning, that it's deeply inspired by that film. That film is very near and dear to me. I think that's usually the spiel that I say, so I can't, that phrase always ends up coming out. But It is. I loved that. I love that movie so much, and always wonder at what the inner workings of a giant, in Spirited Away terms, like this labyrinthine hot spring or bathhouse, and how it might be to work there, to be Chihiro. And so, Onsen Master is one distillment of that idea. Though if resources had lent themselves unlimited, I would love to expand into that huge environment that you see in the movie.
I have no doubt that you'll get there. Yeah.
There might be like an Onsen too, and like
right, maybe.
Yeah.
And this will be like, okay, this time we're working with Studio Ghibli. They've actually come on board.
Oh wow.
Big things in the future.
That would be dope.
Big things in the future.
Dope.
Let me just send my email.
Yeah. And in the midst of all of this, you've still found some time to play some games. So on the doc, you said you've been playing some Dishonored. How's that going?
It's great. I love immersive sims. Everybody, please make immersive sims. Make more of them. Dishonored is such a fantastic game. It was suggested to me by a friend a while back, and I've been hooked on this series. And so I just want to consume. I'm ready to consume anything else from Arcane. So Death of the Outsider has been really, really fun to play.
Do you normally take the pacifist routes, or do you take the kill some, or do you kill everything?
I really end up. So when I originally started, I was playing Dishonored 2, and I said I'm going to just stealthily kill whoever is in my way, kind of thing, and I'll avoid the other people. And that got thrown out the window so fast. I like if I were a ninja, like imagine me jumping off of a beam from a high point, fumbling across some sort of face and smashing it to the ground, and then somebody discovers me, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I have to kill you now.
So, you know too much.
Exactly. Yeah, that was me. A lot of save scrubbing and restarting levels, and laying waste to all of the opponents in the environment, which and then I look back and go, I'm really sorry I had to do that. But Dishonored, Death of the Outsider, I'm trying my best to just be as stealthy as possible. One of my favorite things is just getting that high rating for stealth, and then nothing else really matters.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I played the first one only so far, and I got through most of it with the pacifist run, while my roommate at the time just destroyed everything. And just the way that those games develop, and like the final level for me was clean, clear. The final level for him was disgusting, rats everywhere, and just like the way that those games develop around your choices, I think is really cool.
It's amazing. Shout out to Arcane Studios for putting that together.
Final Fantasy VII Remake as well. Are you playing it for the first time? Are you going into the DLC? Where are you at in that game?
I am resuming it. This is still my first time playthrough since its release, and I took a very large break from it just to dabble with some other things. But yes, I just fought Hell House, and so that was a really fun experience. Trying to figure out what spells to balance out, and now I think there's some things to happen immediately after that, but I don't know what's coming yet. And so I think it was the announcement of Integrate that inspired me to want to go back and go, okay, let's play this game, because if they release some content that's focused on Barrett or something, I'm gonna have to play that.
Yeah. I think that Hell House fight took me like 40 minutes. That was such a tough fight.
So tough. That dang barrier, that invincibility barrier thing.
Right?
I was like, I'm gonna do my, like, the first time I was like, oh, forget that barrier, I'm gonna do my limit break, and it gives me the notification that you did 2 damage.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. The game
furious.
Is so pretty and so much fun to play. And the last one you had down was Resident Evil Village. How's that going?
I love it.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of Resident Evil 4, which is one of my favorite Resident Evil games. And so doing it in first person is scary as hell, but I'm making my way through. Yeah, that game is a lot of fun. I was navigating the Lady Dimitrescu, her castle, and getting chased down by the daughters, and so that was so scary.
Yeah.
How bad are the puzzles in that game? I'm notoriously bad at puzzles. Anybody that listens to the show knows that, like, I'm just not good at them. If it gets too difficult, I get very frustrated. How bad are the puzzles in that? Because the game looks like a lot of fun, but Resident Evil traditionally has quite a few of puzzles thrown in that for me, I'm just sitting there, I'm like...
Yeah. Once I was reminded, because it's been a long time since I've interacted with an RE game, and once I was reminded, oh, this is locked door until you solve puzzle, I got my pace. It was, I'm very quickly running around navigating areas. There's a map that shows you unexplored areas, which is a pretty good indication of probably where I need to go next. And so, usually me playing is running, and you see the map just like flashing constantly in front of the screen, because I'm like, did I take the left turn that I needed to take? And so I would say the puzzles for me have been pretty approachable, though I admittedly am playing on maybe like medium difficulty, and I know that there's a bit of a sliding scale for those sometime.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you've been enjoying it, and I'm so glad you found some time to get some video games in, and amidst all the busyness.
Yes.
I'm waiting for Destiny.
What?
Usually Darren does it.
Just oh yeah. Matt, what have you been doing?
It's been like it's been a run.
Go into it. Just go into it.
No, I wanted.
It was such a swift cut. It was
I was like.
I wanted to put you on the spot. As for myself, I've been playing a bunch as well. I have been continuing on with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. That game is just so much fun. Yeah. Like it's so beautifully put together, and like the new characters are fantastic. And like as I was playing it, I got a little bit of time earlier today. That game, there's games that tell better stories. There's games that that do things differently. But that game is the first one I've played in quite a while that's just so fun in every capacity. Everything about it is just you having a good time, and like the way that the guns upgrade and everything about it. That game is just I just have so much fun playing it. And my partner would like sometimes she'll sit down and watch if I'm playing something. She's caught herself a few times now walking by and being like, "Why are you playing this?" And then she sits down, and I'm like, "You're asking, but you're still watching." That game is just so much fun. I just love it so much. That series is so special. I've also been playing Chicory. Destiny and I are reviewing that. We'll have a review up later this week. I finished it, and I don't want to get too far into it, but like, man, that game is so special. Again, like just the story it tells and how it deals with expectations and the stress that others can put on you and the stress you put on yourself, and especially, for an artist. I can imagine having even more to relate in that game, but like it's just stunningly done. Have you seen much of that game, Derek?
I have, and Chicory looks really exciting. I don't know much about what the story is presenting, but the gameplay itself has me really interested.
It's adorable. Destiny,
I
you
think
spent some
you'll
time.
enjoy it.
Yeah, you spent some time with it as well, D. What do you think so far?
Like you said, coming from like an artist background, like I just think it was executed beautifully. Like I like the idea of like using your paintbrush to solve puzzles and like
Yeah,
paint a blank canvas. And
Mm-hmm.
um I was like pleasantly surprised at how deep the story is, because I thought it was just going to be kind of like this cutesy game, but like no, it's like real talk. They're talking about like depression and
oh
like
wow.
feeling
Mm-hmm.
inadequate and imposter syndrome. Like it goes into depth about all of those things in a very, I think, like without like just throwing it in your face, like it kind of builds up to it, and it does so gracefully. I don't know how else to put
Yeah.
it, but like it's a very graceful lead up to all these things that you're dealing with. And I thought they did an incredible job.
Yeah, I
That's
think you
exciting.
said that. I think you said that beautifully. Yeah, just our review will be up on our YouTube channel later this week, so go check it out. I don't want to get too far into it, but man, that game is just so good. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, I tried out the Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins demo, and man, that game is just not for me. It's not, like I think it plays better than it looked. I
Yeah.
wasn't too impressed with the trailer that they showed off at the conference. I still don't think it looks very good. I think graphically it's kind of muddy and it's kind of dark and in a way that like it just doesn't look finished right now, which is fine. It's a beta. Hopefully they'll have time to kind of clean it up before launch. But like the combat has a lot of things I like the way that you can switch between different jobs and different classes on the fly. So
Yeah.
you're able to set equipment for each job or for each class. And when you switch classes, like literally with the button press, everything switches with you. I got the main character quickly changed out of that just black shirt and black
His
pants that he
Target
had.
shirt.
Yeah,
Basic shirt. Oh
yeah.
That
no.
was so weird, right?
Yeah.
Like they get very Final Fantasy very very quick with the outfits and stuff. At least in the demo, I'm sure they're giving you things at a faster rate to kind of help you experience what the game will be like. But again, like it's a FromSoft, like they're very much going for the difficulty. And while I didn't find it to be overly difficult, there gets to certain parts where you're just mobbed by enemies, and it's
Hmm.
weird because you have two people that are with you in the game, like your partners, and if they go down, you have to save them. But if you go down, it's game over, back to checkpoint. Like there's no, it has some weird systems that I kind of feel like it should go both ways. At least, give yourself one respawn or something before you're kind of thrown all the way back. And the checkpoint system, and again, this is very FromSoft, like it's quite extensive between checkpoints. So for me, I got to a point where like I think it was like almost 10 minutes that I'd gotten and I was doing quite well, and then I died and I was like, no, I'm done with this for now. Those FromSoft games for me, I really appreciate what they're doing. They're just not for me, but I do intend to kind of go back to it and try to kill chaos and get to the end of the demo. But if you're into FromSoft games and you're looking for something that has a bit of that Final Fantasy, the magic system is great. Like I said, the weapons and the way to swap jobs is super interesting, but just not for me. But if you're into that, I think you'll enjoy it. Check out the demo if you can on PS5. That brings us to our main topic for the day, which is all about Mr. WakingOni, Derrick Fields. And I wanted to ask you, before we get into it too far, how did WakingOni Games and how did Onsen Master, how did that everything start? Where did that idea come from?
Yeah. It was really WakingOni used to be my name as an artist, and when I was primarily doing illustrations, and so it was kind of an easy bridge to figuring out what sort of studio name I wanted to lead into. And with Onsen Master, that began as kind of a I don't want. I'm trying to avoid the bar and a napkin phrase, but it like almost just short of that was kind of the thought. But or napkin and a bar. Did I say bar and a napkin?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Glide
There
right
we
past
go.
that
It's
one.
like time just like folds in on itself. And becomes a nice little napkin. Anyways, it really was engaging with Spirited Away or maybe conversing about it and thinking about what type of interaction that could look like in a game and managing a bathhouse. I was very lucky to go visit various onsen in Japan. So we specifically went to Kinosaki Onsen, which is this really beautiful onsen town, essentially, where each ryokan, which is kind of like a bed and breakfast, essentially has their own hot spring that you can stay in and take a dip. And so a lot of those interactions gave even more inspiration about maybe what sort of elements we could draw from it. Of course, there isn't the reality of mixing ingredients and lofting them into a bath for somebody, but really the shared connection that is experienced with other people, whether yourself or friends or strangers, is something that's very real there. And so taking that back home was something that I wanted to figure out how could that be done, as well as placing black and brown characters in anime inspired narratives. And so that was a really big thing. I'm really thankful that I was at a period in my life where my roommate at the time was also working on a separate game and had a one or two contacts who were interested in helping to create a prototype for Onsen Master. And so it started with just three of us, me doing all of the artwork, my close friend and roommate at the time helping with design, and another friend of ours doing all of the programming. And so the three of us had tooled about on that first stage for Onsen Master for forever, between part-time jobs, life changes, and many other things. And so before Onsen Master, there was a lot of years spent before Onsen Master reached its sort of debut on Kickstarter, where we looked for a kind of like a modest amount of funding to help us wrap up the prototype and seek a publisher relationship. And so we did that. We were really lucky that we were successfully funded on Kickstarter, and exactly that result that we were looking for came to fruition. We developed a working relationship with Whitethorn Games, and they have been the ones helping us deploy Onsen Master to PC and console. So that's what's wrapping up this year.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
I think.
No, I'm really. Oh, Matt.
No, go ahead. Go. You go.
Okay,
You go.
sorry. I was just gonna say I'm really proud of you. Like I got so excited when we were watching Black Voices in Gaming, because I had no idea that there were so many of us out there wanting the same thing. So seeing people actually get to that point is just like really awe-inspiring. And I just think it's great because I have like little nieces and nephews who like love playing games or love watching anime and watching cartoons. So if they ever wanted to be in that field, they can see other, brown and black people doing the things that they love. And I think that's so important when it comes to representation. So yeah, like, thank you for like getting to that point. Cause I mean, a lot of people just give up. I know it's really hard to like take a game from conception to like finished project. And you did that. And that's
doing. It's not done yet.
Not done yet. But I mean, like, it will be though.
But
like,
it will
I have
be.
absolutely no like doubts that it's going to make it.
Yeah, we are determined. I'm so grateful to have the folks that we've since expanded, of course, starting with three, but, we of course sought more help to be able to bring the game together. And so there are, as of yesterday, 7 of us, because we just brought on another individual to help kind of spiff up the UI for Onsen Master and really bring the art direction that's established kind of into that space. There was a point in time where I was doing the 3D modeling, the animation, the level design, the game design. There was like every hat that you could find in the hat shop. If you just go to Lids and put all the hats on your head, that was it. And so I love the people who I work with, like truly love them because they are amazing individuals for wanting to commit their time to this project and see and like put a piece of themselves into that as well. That's a really big part of creating games. That creating Onsen Master and creating games that will hopefully follow it is, giving everybody involved the agency to feel as though that they're really putting a piece of themselves into something that's meaningful. Like, I don't want to be the individual who's just, and then we're making this next.
That's a good trailer voice. Sorry.
I voice act for my dogs, and that's literally my lifestyle. And so, I just stare at them and I make voices all day. But it's important because another part that I hope can get redefined within I hope that indie game developers can use their space to also redefine, elements that are traditionally seen within corporate spaces. The
Mm,
top down hierarchy, and that somebody is delegating the idea, the tasks, and the vision for it all, and you're doing somebody else's vision. Um,
right.
Even though Onsen Master, very much started as an idea that was very close to me, it was I really hopefully can say that I've been inviting people into the idea and asking, hey, how do you want to make this great as well? Um, and so, with the next game, I get to do that from the ground up, which is going to be really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to being able to, build that, and hopefully be able that everybody involved has that same agency of building that together. Um, I love games. I love making games, and that's
No,
what I
I
want to.
think that's
Yeah,
important because it's more like a family, right? And so like everybody should have some input. And I think that's the reason why I kind of like didn't want to be in the game industry anymore. I didn't want to be just a cog,
yeah.
in a big machine. I wanted to create my own things and work with people who shared similar visions. So I
Yes,
respect that.
exactly that. I the one really cool thing to give to the generations who are consuming media now is to let them know that they don't have to necessarily sweat over a university course only to be disillusioned that somebody may or may not champion their ideas. They
Right.
So many individuals, the people that we love and raise, we hold their ideas and we champion their ideas and we tell them that they're amazing, and it makes that moment of disillusion um, really impactful when you finally get into an industry space and you are just a cog on the wheel. and
Yes.
and the folks who are part of larger game companies who really do feel as though they're contributing to something great and that their voices and content is being seen. I am Shout outs to those companies who are doing those things. The
Mhm.
companies, large and small, certainly exist. To the individuals who do feel like a cog in the wheel and that they don't feel seen, I hope that they can find comfort if they do choose to kind of step out in other spaces, that they know that there are seats available in indie games where you that is available to you, and you're able to do that. Um, and I just lost where I was going to go with that, but
No.
but the point being that that I had that lived experience too. I went to university. I was telling myself I'm going to do video game concept art, and then
Yeah.
immediately you graduated, and this is me in like 2011 2012 or something, graduating, and somebody going, yeah, your artwork's not good enough. And I'm like,
Uh,
they're like, it's already like 2 or 3
yeah.
years behind, and I'm like, what?
Right.
Like, I didn't know I was behind already.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think one of the most impressive things that you're doing is you give back to the community a lot, and you're doing a lot to make sure that the younger generation is being brought up in a way that they feel empowered and they feel emboldened. You've mentioned in the Black Voices event that you've done events with the University of Chicago, and you teach different classes to help youth kind of learn in the proper way. So something that I wanted to ask you is kind of like, what are some of the biggest things that someone who is young and who might be a person of color who's trying to get into the industry, or trying to learn how to do that, what are some words that you can tell them to kind of help them start that path if there's something stopping them?
Yeah. There's, of course, the first thing that I do want to observe is, being from a marginalized background may also mean that there's a disproportionate access to resources. And so, to that Black or brown individual who loves video games, and, whether they're playing on current gen or previous gen and still having amazing experiences, the pipeline to getting those resources can sometimes be daunting and expensive. Yes, Unity is free, but the resource being able to build on Unity, the computer, can be pretty lofty. I would say to that person that there are many ways to create experiences and that there's many ways to create games. Maybe if you see yourself being a designer, maybe it's starting with tabletop and creating card games and tabletop games or RPGs, and um, doling out the mechanics that you really dream of in a 3D space on paper. Because if I always say, as a tenet to young individuals who are pursuing of games, if you can design it on paper, it will work in code in a lot of ways. That's when we're working on that game design document, we have to stretch everything out and articulate everything that we can. And so if it can work in the paper doll test, which is an element that is very convenient for game design, seeing how certain mechanics can work without having to delegate a lot of resources to plugging it away in Unity, even though nowadays you can pretty much just prototype right away in Unity. But that resource is available to kids. You can make board games, you can make trading card games, and you can still develop and kind of fine tune the ideas that are within you. And as life takes you hopefully closer towards gaining access to the resources necessary to realize those in a 3D space, that you already have all this knowledge and systems and mechanics like built out, and you're ready to go. And now you just have to string it together with the tools that are in front of you. If that's finding a programmer to help, or using visual based scripting to, if you don't know programming yourself or can't gain access to a programmer. I would say in summation that there is always a way. You just have to really, really want it.
Yeah, and I think that's so well said, because there's so many ways to start. And something, one of my idols in the industry is Greg Miller, and he always kind of says, just start. In whatever way you can, just start. And it's something that we've talked about a lot, and that struggle can be very, very real. But I think a lot of people don't know where to start, and how to look and how to find these resources. Yes. So hearing you say that, even just starting off with something like tabletop or card games, it's fantastic. And I hope more people try their best to kind of go in the direction that they want to go, and not just A, B, C, D. This is your life path, and that's all it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is just start. It's easier because say when it comes to drawing, I used to draw every day of my life when I was a kid growing up, and I really imagined myself becoming a comic book artist. And then I think as media evolved, the vision of realizing art in a digital form started to evolve too. But pencil and paper is a resource that's just around, and it's easy for a parent to go, you can start right now. It might be harder for a parent to articulate, how do I invigor this passion that is within my kid who wants to create games? How do I give them the resources that are accessible? And so, even to those who are kids, to those who are parents, the dissertation of ways to get involved that just happened a moment ago, I'd say give those to your children.
Can I add something? I just wanted to add that, I also think that, we should teach kids to network and not look at, especially in college, not look at the person sitting beside you as competition. Reach across. And I mean, I think that's so important, because that's how I got my start in the indie game industry, is because I knew Justin. I went to college with him and a bunch of those dudes. So I think it's really important, because I know that especially going to school, they're this guy, you have to do this, or he could be the next whatever. But what's important is that not everybody wants to work for a big company. So find those people, become friends with those people, network, because you just never know in the future what's going to happen. Yes. And I think that's really, really important, because I think we teach, and especially in America, we teach kids to work for companies, not to work for themselves so much. And I think that's important. So I'm really glad that a lot of indie game companies are popping up, and that they're not afraid of the competition that AAA companies are throwing out there, because we all need to have a place to say something and see our vision, and not just work on somebody else's vision.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's such a good one. Yeah. That's so perfectly said.
Both of you perfectly said. To kind of jump back to Onsen Master for a second, and it's something that I was curious about, because I think seeing that game, the humanity of it comes across very quickly. It was something that I noticed, that even when you have somebody new come into the onsen, you go over and you take them by the hand and lead them to a bath, right? It's not like you go here, right? It's just the way that the characters move and the animate, and just, again, this simple act of hand holding and showing them the way, I think is such a beautiful thing. So what are some of your biggest hopes for people to kind of take away from Onsen Master? What do you want people to get out of the experience?
I want most of all, so I would say, kind of speaking on an inspiration for Onsen Master and kind of the vision for other experiences out of Waking Oni, I look to films or film studios like Pixar that have created stories that are approachable by children but palatable for adults, and allow everybody in the movie theater to engage with pieces of that experience. When it comes to Onsen Master and everything else, centering on that and beyond, I want that same thing to happen on the couch for young kids to feel really, really a part of the experience and feel as though that they're contributing to the betterment of this bathhouse, whether they're successfully doing it or not. But also the story to be palatable or approachable by them, but consumable by the parents or siblings, older siblings in the room as well. Family is monumental for me, and so to bring everybody together in one space, and when I say family, I mean that can take any form. That's siblings, that's parents, that's extremely close friends, and throughout that's all family to me. Bringing everybody together on the couch to be able to share that experience is what I want most of all. We have games games now have reached a very big like networking point, and it's crossplay, and it's playing multiplayer online, and I think that's wonderful. I think the evolutions within being able to play across time zones with other people is so something else that's very much needed. But I hope it doesn't it pivot too far from individuals who still want the experiences in the same room together. And so that's what I hope I can give with Onsen.
Yes.
I love that. I like we love couch co-op here, and it's
I
something
love
that
couch co-op.
we gravitate to a lot. So just being able to share that in the same room, I think is so wonderful. Destiny, I'm going to ask one last question before we jump into news, and I'm going to completely derail the conversation. So is there anything else you want to ask before I ask the question that's been burning inside me for the last 56 minutes?
No.
Okay. and now we're off to the races, everyone. While you were talking and about your inspirations, you talked about how much Persona means to you.
Oh my
God. Is my favorite game series of all time. So I just wanted to know, which Persona is your favorite, and kind of what are you hoping to kind of take away from those experiences? Because I can't not ask. I'm sorry.
This one's hard. I like a lot. So there was a point in time where I was like collecting all the Shin Megami Persona games on PlayStation 2. And I love Persona 4 for a lot of reasons, but I think Persona 5 as well has really connected with me in a lot of great ways. I just love a lot of what Atlas has done in taking core mechanics that are expectant. You know that with an Atlas title, you are going to get the companionship, not only with the characters that you meet, but with the characters and spirits that you recruit to your team. There's always going to be the kind of the same spread of those spirits, the Jacks and all the iterations and things of those. And so probably Persona 5 has been a big one for me, but I still love Persona 4. I love it for a lot of reasons. I love the stylization. I love the PlayStation 2 aesthetic, and the efficiently, like very PlayStation 2 optimization, for making 3D models and having limited resources. There's something about that art direction and its limitations that always appeal to me.
I completely understand. Persona 4 Golden is my favorite game of all time. So on the event when you were talking, I kind of squealed to myself for a little bit, and Destiny and Darren both kind of looked at me and they were like,
because he brings it up like at any chance, like all the time.
But in actuality, my real last question before we head into news.
Wait, that wasn't your real last question?
I was joking. Of course I'm not going to make Persona the last question.
I don't know.
So Onsen Master is on the way later this year, and as you're kind of getting closer to develop to the finish line, what are kind of some of your feelings now as you're kind of getting closer to the end point for launch, right? What are you feeling? What are you kind of hoping for once the game comes out? Where do you see yourselves going next? And not spoiling anything, but just kind of your feelings.
Yeah, I'm going to try to navigate that answer without becoming too emotional because Onsen Master has been, such a project where I mentioned the people who have been involved have gone through so many different shifts in their lifestyle. I, went from roommates to I'm now married and I have a stepson and we're expecting a little one this year. And like, there's like,
Congratulations! That's
thank
so
you.
exciting.
Thank you so much. So, I'm not the only one who's gone through, transitions and changes in life for sure. I think that journey really kind of turns the page to a very large chapter in that book. And I think it will not really feel like a weight lifted, but I don't know, like the victory fanfare is just going to go off for 24 hours straight and watch the experience bar just,
You
fly
fill
up
up,
over and over
yeah.
again. I am excited. I'm fearful. I'm, anxious. I'm also really, really looking forward to taking the learned experiences that we've had in developing Onsen and applying that to the game that we want to pursue next, and taking the core values of the studio that have also developed over Onsen Master's lifeline or lifetime, and really making an indication that we are applying those experiences into the next game. I've talked about wanting to give back and wanting to inspire the next generation, and I think with the next title, I feel really confident about really being able to make sure I deliver on those words and kind of identify a couple of things that I hope people have a good takeaway from.
I think what you're doing is absolutely phenomenal. We're already huge fans of you and everything that you're doing, the work that you're
Thank
putting
you.
into the next generation and Onsen Master. And I have no doubt in my mind that you're just going to get bigger and bigger and onto more important and more wonderfully life changing things. So congratulations, you're almost there, and
I'm almost there. Thank you.
we're always in your corner. So
Yeah,
keep it up, man. It's
definitely.
incredible. It's
I definitely
incredible.
think you should tag Jubilee when you finish your game. I know you were joking,
I
but I think you should.
Yeah, slightly Twitter me probably will.
Yeah.
I shoot my shot every now and then, and so I
If you
probably
don't
will.
do it, I'm gonna do it for you. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try.
Well, like I said, all the best going forward, and we can't wait. We can't wait to get our hands on it when the time comes. So thank you again, and let's jump on into some news. The first news story that we're going to be talking about is Cyberpunk is back on PlayStation. I will be reading from Eurogamer's article written by Tom Phillips. Tom writes, the PlayStation 4 version of Cyberpunk is back on the PlayStation Store, but Sony still recommends you do not buy it to play it on a base PS4 console. In a message posted to PlayStation's Twitter this morning, Sony said that work on the version of the game would continue throughout the year and that playing on PS4 Pro or PS5 consoles is recommended. So it's back. Famously, as anyone who may have been paying attention to Cyberpunk when it came out, it came out in a very broken and buggy state. There was a lot of corporate overlords that got into the development of the game and shoved it out the door before it was ready. Developers were screaming that they needed more time. They were ignored. The game ended up being pulled from the PlayStation Store, which has almost never happened before. And now, 6 months later, it is finally back. And again, PlayStation is still warning you, don't play it on base PS4. It's not going to run very well. I think that I'm glad that the game is back because I really do think there's a good game in there that just caught a lot of flack from a lot of people who just wanted to make a lot of money very quickly. And I think there's something really good in there. Derrick, do you have much experience with Cyberpunk? Is this something that you're excited about? No feelings? Where are you at on this one?
In some ways, there's the cyberpunk genre is one that I've been personally interested in, but sort of like from the sideline point of view, I've been consuming cyberpunk media in different forms, movies, film, and book, for the reason of wanting to explore a conversation that specifically identifies the representations of Asian culture within those games, because there's a lot of indication of like Asian culture, like Japanese, Korean, Chinese
Mm-hmm.
companies and things, and there's a conversation to be had there. I would encourage, I'll keep it succinct and encourage people to read the book Techno-Orientalism, and it talks about these elements of Asian culture being identified in movies like Blade Runner and so on, and the conversations to be had about that. So Cyberpunk, when it came out, I was like, ooh, this might be a really good one to talk about that and explore that with. And once again, Japanese culture is very present in this one with characters like the I think samurai gang, or you play as a samurai. That's the as the player, correct?
Yeah, they give you the nickname samurai, but it's not really tied to anything. The antagonists in the game are I think they're Japanese, and they're portrayed in a little bit of a stereotypical manner. So I mean, like, there's definitely conversations to be had around the way that game is put together, but.
Totally, yeah, and yeah, don't in no intention to derail too hard to kind of bring it back. It has had my interest in Cyberpunk. I've always watched the kind of projects that CD Projekt Red has put out, and this one's massive. It's unfortunate that it had received the kind of treatment on console because it looks like a game that was intended to be marveled at. And in a way of all of its rich details, its very, very dense environments, and being able to do an array of things like jumping in your car and I don't know, punching the person that's walking on the sidewalk. I don't encourage that. I don't endorse that, but the option's available. And I think the release on console has definitely kind of colored an experience for a lot of its user base. And so I just hope it gets its smooth sails.
Yeah, I hope so. Destiny, as someone who was a big fan of The Witcher 3, and you were interested in Cyberpunk, but then as everything started happening, you kind of said, I'm going to take my time with this one. Does this news make you any more willing to go back and play the game yet? Or are you still waiting for things to get better? Where are you kind of at with Cyberpunk?
I never buy things when they first come out anyways. So, I never lost interest in it. I still want to do it. I still like the idea of, I love creating characters. So I really like all of the different aspects that come with that. I'm definitely going to play the game at some point, but probably when it's not like the talk of the town anymore, at my own pace. That's probably when I'm going to play it. And then I'll want to talk about it, and you guys will be like, it's been 5 years.
When you're ready, Dee.
Yeah.
Our next piece of news comes from IGN, written by Wesley LeBlanc. Wesley writes, the Nintendo Switch firmware saga seems to finally have been resolved. The Nintendo Switch firmware saga has seemingly come to an end, as players are reporting that Nintendo has fixed the 2123-1502 error code. This error code appeared with a 12.0.3 update that hit Switch consoles earlier this month, and it prevented players from downloading games and updates for games, among other things. Until now, there was no fix, but it seems that the latest firmware has finally fixed it. So over the course of the last week or two, a large percentage of Switch players were locked out from a lot of their content. They weren't able to update anything. They weren't able to download anything. So I just wanted to kind of put this on everyone's radar that if you were experiencing that issue, make sure you check your software, make sure you update it immediately to be able to play your games properly again, because they seemingly broke it and then managed to fix it. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there so that everybody's aware that there is a fix now. Fret not, make sure you download it, and hopefully your Switches are back to functioning properly.
I really need to play mine. I haven't played mine in so long. My Animal Crossing characters are going to be like, we thought you died.
Are you a big Switch guy, Derek? Do you like your Switch, or do you have one?
I have. I love my Switch. It feels like the rightful home for all of my indie games, and so I usually make it the go-to spot for playing games on there. The error code was not a lived experience for me personally, but once I heard about it, I was like, oh wow, I really hope that would really suck, to go through E3 and if there are any games that are announced, during that time period, and then be faced with not being able to download or update. Very troublesome times for that. So yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine being a developer who's putting out their game during that time, and Nintendo just says, no, you know what, you can't let anybody download it, sorry.
Doesn't work, I'm sorry.
No, that's it. It's not the game's problem, it's ours, but you just have to deal with it. But things seem to be working now. Make sure your software is updated to get around the problem. Our next story comes from Eurogamer as well, written by Tom Phillips. Pokemon Unite launches next month on Nintendo Switch. Pokemon Unite, the upcoming free-to-play MOBA from Tencent's Timmy Studios, Launches on Nintendo Switch in July. Unite's mobile version then follows in September, the Pokemon Company announced today. Cross-platform play and cross-save are planned, the latter of which requires using the same Nintendo account or Pokemon Trainer Club login. Derrick, are you excited about this at all? Are you someone who likes playing MOBAs? Is this kind of Pokemon fusion doing anything for you?
I dabble in MOBAs, usually on the influence of somebody else who wants to play and needs a fourth person or something. So I always admit that I'm never good at it. But seeing Pokemon tackle other forms of gameplay for its fans, I think is a really, really great merriment for the folks who enjoy that and have probably been fantasizing about what a Pokemon style MOBA would look like. I think, when you have a MOBA that has a spread of characters, as they typically do, Pokemon already has the cast ready to go and the ability is ready to supplement it. So it looks fun. I hope people have fun.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'm a big Pokemon fan, and admittedly, I've never played a MOBA before in my life. The genre just seems very hard to kind of break into. So this one will be my first one. I'm excited to kind of get a taste and see how it goes. Destiny, any plans to check this one out? No, okay.
Yeah, it was told earlier that Destiny, you're not a Pokemon fan.
Yeah, not for the games. I like collecting like the little I have like some stuff from Japan that's Pokemon and stuff like that, but
well, hopefully it's like a gateway for others who maybe were kind of interested in MOBAs in like a tertiary way, or adjacently interested, and maybe it presents mechanics that are MOBA light. I think that would be a really great way to bring in its audience that are both young and older. So I guess we'll see.
I think you're spot on there, and like I just said, it will be my first MOBA. So something like Dota or League of Legends has always looked very interesting, and I have a lot of friends who really enjoy it. And Pokemon is really good at being that kind of first person's experience into a new genre. Like they're quite good with kind of easing you in. So I hope you're right. I hope it is accessible, and I hope it is something that people are going to enjoy. It will be out next month on the Switch. One of our last stories before we wrap up, EA will reportedly reveal a fan favorite series revival at EA Play Live in July. This is coming from IGN, written by Joe Screbbles. EA will reportedly announce the revival of a fan favorite series at the upcoming EA Play Live event. GamesBeat Jeff Grubb first teased that EA Motive was working on an established IP, which Eurogamer has now corroborated. In a subsequent stream, Grubb said that the game would be revealed on July 22nd at EA Play Live. He went on to say, "We're going to see it if we're not dead first." So there's a lot of speculation now that Dead Space is coming back. Personally, I've never played any of the Dead Space games. I understand that a lot of people are very, very excited about this. Destiny, are you a Dead Space fan at all? Are you excited about a potential
Didn't they
revive?
have like an animated cartoon? Mm-hmm. Okay, I saw that and that messed me up. I was like, it's a cartoon. It's not going to be creepy. It was scary. Mm-hmm. So no, I'm not playing any of those games.
Yep.
What about yourself, Derrick? Are you a Dead Space fan?
I am. I love Dead Space, and the first one especially, Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2, I love a lot. I didn't play as much of 3, but that first one is, it just really brings in space horror, like cosmic horror, in a really cool way. Yeah. And the very the trembled, it does. But it does, films like Event Horizon, or I think Pandorum is another one that both of these live in my head rent free when thinking of Dead Space, and that's what that felt like. It felt like I was maybe a character in a larger Event Horizon type of experience, and so I would love to see a return to Dead Space. I would love to see also a return of the animation series now that we've had shows like Castlevania just thriving on Netflix. I think that would be a really great space for that, and so I don't know, come through EA. I'm ready for that.
Did you guys see Tresse? Sorry.
Not yet. It's on my list.
It's so good. It's so good. I binged watch it. It's only like 6 episodes. But,
great.
So then, before we jump into the next story, I'd have to ask, what would you want to see out of a new Dead Space game? Would you want to see a continuation of Isaac's story, right? That was the main character's name. Mm-hmm. Or do you want to see them kind of go in a new direction? Do you want to see them Blue Point style revive the first one and just, make it big and beautiful? Kind of what would you want to see from this announcement, if it's real?
Yeah, good call with Blue Point, because they've done really good jobs on they did Demon Souls and a few others. But I think if we're looking at Dead Space's arc, it's probably time for some sort of spiritual successor that we're probably not visiting with Isaac. Maybe they'll leave the idea of Isaac existence in the narrative as like a dangling the bait that they may make an appearance, later or at the end of the game. But I think it would be really fun to engage in that story with a new person, and take it back to the core, very tight corridor cosmic horror experience that you have within the first one. I think Dead Space 3 is the part where it kind of gets a little expansive. There's more outside environments, and now we got to make big cinematic space things.
Yeah.
But I would love to see it get small, get intimate. Maybe we've had games like Alien Isolation come out. Maybe those can have place and presence and inspiration in a title like this. I would love to see how they take other games that have seen iterations, have created their titles inspired by Dead Space, and kind of bring it all back together. So that's what I'm hoping for.
I hope you're right. I would love to be able to experience that game, because I just missed the series the first time around. So I'd be curious to see what anyone would look like. And to kind of bounce off the animation perspective, just earlier today, coming from IGN, written by, as soon as my computer starts functioning again, written by, there we go, Kat Bailey. Final Fantasy IX animated series is being co-developed by Square Enix. A Final Fantasy IX animated series is currently under development, Kidscreen reports. It will reportedly be co-developed with Square Enix by French studio Cyber Group Studios, with Cyber Group also handling distribution, licensing, and merchandise. How excited or not excited are you guys for a Final Fantasy IX animated series? I've never played 9, so let's go to Derrick first. How does this make you excited? What do you want to see from this? How are you feeling?
I'm so excited. I didn't see that piece of news on the sheet that you gave me. This is new news for me. I'm like, what? You said Final Fantasy. I just, that was, my brain would have never went there. Most of all, I talk so much about anytime there's a new iteration on a Final Fantasy series, hopefully seeing, what is the HD version of a Final Fantasy IX? What does returning to that art direction look like? Seeing it iterated in animated form, I have no words to express how excited I am. I am shocked that string of words, Final Fantasy IX cartoon, were all together. I hope I get to see Vivi and Freya. And,
you have to. They're
yes, please.
Part of the main group.
Holy crap! A story about Vivi and the Black Mages and all that stuff would be wild. And Kuja, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so I added to the doc just a couple hours ago because it was breaking around 3 or 4 hours before recording.
Heck yeah.
Destiny, the report goes on to say that this is being kind of targeted. They haven't settled on an episode count yet. They haven't settled on what exactly the series is going to be, but they did say they're kind of targeting that 8 to 12 age range. So what would you want to see out of the series for that would make kids happy while also fans of Final Fantasy IX kind of making both camps happy? What would you want to see out of the show?
So I've always made a joke that Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII got together and had a baby, and that's how Final Fantasy IX was born, because it takes so much from both of those games.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the game itself already lends to that age group. I don't think they need to change a lot around for it, because it's not as serious as 8, it's not just a love story like how 8 was, and it's not as twisted as 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I already think it's the perfect, that's probably why they picked it, honestly, because it's basically the perfect kind of medium of all of those things that would keep a kid interested. I think if I thought about Final Fantasy IX, I would compare it to not in gameplay or anything, but just the style of the age group it's going for, Kingdom Hearts. Because I always kind of got that vibe afterwards. Trivia, Final Fantasy is the only one that I played by myself completely through to the very end. And then I got really upset at the end because I got Zindane's limit break on the final boss. And that made that fight really easy.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect to beat it. Nobody expects to go up against a boss in Final Fantasy VII because they always have like multiple stages and beat it the first time, especially the final one. But yeah, once Zidane got his level break, he's like OP. So it's just like done. But no, that's exciting news. And the fact that it's not being produced in America kind of makes me happy too. There have been some amazing animation studios in France that have just been coming out with some beautiful, just amazing animation. So I want to see what they're going to bring to the table. Like, I'm curious, is it going to look like, are they going to try to copy an anime looking style, or are they going to like give it their own flair? So yeah, I'm just, I can't wait.
Yeah, the article actually, if you want to check it out after, does have some of the previous works of the studio, and it does have some, it gives me very kind of Disney Channel-esque vibes, and especially for some of their 3D work. It looks okay, so I'm hoping that for, going into Final Fantasy, they're kind of, with that Square Enix money behind them, maybe they'll kind of, have more time and more, ability to be able to put something incredible together. But I'm excited for this. And I hope we hear more about it soon. And our very, very last story before we close out, coming from Matt T. and Kim over at IGN, Xbox Design Lab returns, supports next-gen controller designs. The Xbox Design Lab returns, letting players customize their own Xbox Series X controllers starting today. The Xbox Design Lab program is a service Microsoft offers that lets players create a custom Xbox controller. Players by letting them choose different colors they like and mix and match colors for a unique Series X controller. I love this idea. I love how creative they let you get with it. I wish so badly that PlayStation had something similar, as like I'm predominantly a PlayStation gamer. Derrick, are you much for Xboxes? Do you like what the Design Lab is doing? Kind of what are your thoughts on the Design Lab?
I love it. I love the customization all the way back to 360's faceplates, and always having a way to make this experience yours. Yes, I've been on the Design Lab website just saving various configurations of black and pink color combinations, and I'm so excited. When the news broke for that, and as well as some other games, I had to duck my head out and tell my partner, I said, I think we're probably going to have to get an Xbox now, because I'm not just going to play it on my PC. I will, but I got to show it off everywhere. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think those controllers look so cool. Dee, have you been playing with the Design Lab as well?
Yes, you saw it on Twitter.
I know. What's the dream controller?
The dream controller is to have a set that's all based on Sailor Moon.
Oh,
and all
nice. That's phenomenal. Yes.
So to have one of those, and then one for all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I know it's kind of ridiculous because nobody needs that many controllers, but I need that many controllers. So
you just have to develop a narrative for like a 9-player game, or how many?
Like to go.
It depends on what arc of the Sailor Moon that we're talking about, and how many scouts are available. But yeah, it could be 9
doable,
or 13, or
right? It's doable.
Yeah,
I see no problems or any hard work going into this whatsoever. I'm sure this will be a breeze. I think this is so cool, and I really hope PlayStation starts doing something similar. I just want to make cool controllers, and I think this is such an awesome way for people to feel their personality in their own controller, because why not let people do what they want to do? And
I'm surprised I'm just surprised because like when PlayStation came out, you chose the most basic controller. What was it, Midnight Black or something?
Yeah, Midnight Black and Cosmic Red. I did have to get the black one because I was furious that PlayStation came out in white, because I kept telling people, don't do that. It's going to get dingy.
It's going to get dirty.
And I already looked at the back of my controller, and right where your hands rest on the back, the groove of that controller, there was a little bit of tinge, and I pointed at my partner. She can't see it. I'm like shaking it at her. Like, see? So I mean, I gotta clean my controllers anyway. It's about that time. But
yeah, okay, come on. The Midnight Black looks great, and I do admit the Cosmic Red does look a lot better.
The Cosmic Red looks dope. It looks so good.
Midas tweeted out earlier today with the pictures of it, and I think it does look a lot better than what they showed in the trailer, because I thought it looked a little too shiny, and I like more of a matte color scheme, for myself. But I think they look great. I'm excited to see more. But that brings us to the end of the show. Derrick, I want to thank you once again for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure. I wish you all the best in the coming months with Onsen Master, and I'm sure this is going to be a massive success with Studio Ghibli on in the next project. We're going to keep putting it out there, so it kind of comes back to you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on and sharing your knowledge. And yeah, Matt always says this, but one more time, can you just drop down your info so people know where to find you and find out more about your game and all of that good stuff?
Absolutely. First and foremost, again, thank you for letting me be a part of your show. I've had such a blast conversing with you both, and would be more than happy to kick it with you off show times at any juncture. So please, that would be great. Please, let's connect on narrative design things. Matt, let's talk about Persona and all types of stuff. Let's do that. But you can find me at WakingOni, waking like waking up in the morning, and that's across social media. If you want to wishlist Onsen Master, that really helps us out. It is available on Steam to wishlist. We are play testing, so you can help play test the game and check out some of the levels that need feedback from players. And so those are all things that are available to do right now. Other than that, look forward to Onsen Master releasing later this year, and hopefully some other announcements about what we're working on and what folks are up to.
Woo! Actually, if you don't mind, it's something that I've wanted to ask a developer, because we've said it a lot, especially going through E3, is wish list.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us just quickly, why does that make such an impact, especially for for an indie developer? Because we tell everybody to do it, but understanding the inner workings a little bit more, I think would be really helpful for people.
Yeah, the most succinct way that I could probably say it, and this has been my spaghetti of an experience wrangling with Steam and that type of platform. But wishlist is similar to an algorithm. Having higher numbers on a wish list increases visibility.
Okay.
And so it puts it out there on Steam. It increases the visibility on Steam, and kind of it guarantees that the certain percentage of the people who have wish listed the game are going to convert to sales. And so all of those things are helpful to know as a developer, that if you can attain a decent number, then you're like, oh, cool, my game is going to do fairly well when it releases. So yes, it's always encouraged.
Gotta follow those algorithms.
Need them. This dang algorithm.
Yeah. System.
Everybody, please go wishlist Onsen Master. Wishlist. I'll have all of Derrick's links in the show notes, along with the link to the Steam page for Onsen Master. So you just have to click one thing and then hit wishlist. If you don't do it, I swear to God, and it's right there, just go do it. Derrick, once again, thank you so much. We had a blast. We hope you come back on and talk to us again in the future. And that brings us to the end of the show. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Destiny, Derrick, thank you once again. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace out.
Bye.
Go wishlist Onsen Master.
Wishlist.